Hello, Ross Sharp here with another episode of Aeronautica. A fake Air Force One. Sometimes things are not what they seem. The aircraft in the photograph looks like one of the two presidential Boeing VC-25A aircraft, the heavily modified Boeing 747-200B, which serve as the VVIP transport for the President of the United States of America and his extensive staff, and can span the globe. When the President is being carried, either of the VC-25s has the call sign Air Force One. There are a whole range of highly classified self-defense and communications systems fitted into the basic airframe. Many are located on the upper deck, aft of the flight deck, to make it fit for its role. Some of these will only be needed if a national emergency should arise whilst the President was in the air. Following the 9/11 attacks, both of the aircraft were modified to enable the President to address the nation on television in flight during any emergency from his private office in the VC-25. Despite the copious nature of the storage space in the VC-25's hold, there is simply not enough to accommodate the needs of the presidential party. Consequently, there is a dedicated fleet of heavy military transport aircraft which travel in advance to the assigned destination. These can carry security personnel, armored limousines, and United States Marine Corps helicopters, which operate as Marine One if required. Both VC-25 aircraft were delivered in 1991 during the presidency of George H.W. Bush and finished in a distinctive color scheme of blue and white. They were assigned to the Presidential Airlift Group of the 89th Airlift Wing at Joint Base Andrews, Maryland, who organized presidential air transport as well as that of other high officials. The problem that the United States Air Force now has is that both aircraft are rapidly approaching the end of their useful lives. Consequently, the U.S. government asked for proposals from both Airbus and Boeing for a replacement aircraft. EADS North America decided that it would not be worth their while assembling just two Airbus A380 aircraft in a U.S. facility, so that left Boeing as the only bidder. There was a contentious bidding process during which the United States government disagreed with the price of two new-built VC-25B based on the standard 747-8 airframe. Finally, it was decided that the two VC-25B would be based on two unsold 747-8 aircraft originally ordered by the now bankrupt Russian carrier Transaero, and which was stored in the Mojave Desert. Amongst the many modifications there will be a military-grade GPS and an IFF system. What is the aircraft shown in the photograph then? It is actually a Boeing 747-212B, formerly of Evergreen International, and retired to Quonset State Airport, Rhode Island. I had seen it parked at Quonset for some years previously, wearing its last in-service livery. This particular 747 was built by Boeing at their Everett plant and delivered to Singapore Airlines in July 1973 as 9V SIA. Its next operator was the famous Flying Tiger Line, with which it stayed from 1979 to 1982. The next move was to an even more famous airline, no less than the Pan American World Airways, in March 1983. Pan Am named it Clipper Water Witch. A major change came in 1991 when it was acquired by Evergreen International Airlines, who had it converted for cargo service. The following year, the 747 was leased to Saudi Arabian Airlines, where it carried cargo to many destinations during a 10-year stay. The lease ended in May 1992 and it was taken back into Evergreen service. It was finally withdrawn from use after a service career of no less than 46.2 years and was stored at John F. Kennedy Airport, New York, on the 11th of August 2012. A move to Kansas City International came in October 2014, where it was stored until June 2015. The final move to Quonset came on the 16th of June 2015, when the owner of record was listed as Mojave Jet Asset Services LLC, and it was still carrying its evergreen registration, November 485 Echo Victor. The new owner eventually decided to paint the aircraft as Air Force One, and has given the aircraft a whole new career as an educational tool. It has now been moved from Rhode Island down the east coast of America to the National Harbor on the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. This difficult task was undertaken by HLI Rail and Rigging Incorporated, who used a giant barge. The aircraft is now safely ashore, where it will be used to educate and entertain pre-booked groups of schoolchildren as the Air Force One Experience, which is part of the Children's Democracy Project. It's a teaching aid to help children understand about democracy, using how the presidents travel around as a means to explain it to them. Everything from George Washington on his horse, all the way through trains and carriages, and up to Air Force One, said Russ McLaren of HLA Rail and Rigging. In its eye-catching paint scheme, this replica Air Force One is certainly an interesting and impressive exhibit, and groups of schoolchildren should indeed enjoy their 90-minute learning experience. Thank you for listening.